Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics YouTube channel. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the 59th edition of the Vanier Cup Preview show here tonight on the channel. Excited to talk about the big game here. Last game officially of this year in Canada. Last two teams practicing this week, and they will crown it off this weekend in the big game to decide who is the national champion in Canada. Excited for the big game, man. It's going to be a good one. Both sides have some good storylines going on either side, and I think easy to root for either team. We'll get into maybe who I'm going for later in the show. But if you guys are tuning in on Instagram or YouTube here tonight, I appreciate you first of all. If you guys could, if you're tuning in on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. When you guys subscribe, turn on notifications. You guys will get notified every time we go live or upload any sort of content here on the channel. And if you're on Instagram here tonight, please follow us or head over to our Twitter as well at _CFNX over there as well. A ton of good stuff on all of our platforms and on our YouTube channel, of course. So tonight I will be joined by not only Connor O'Neill of Canadian Football Perspective, but one Wade Zenketa as well. And we'll be joining the program, talking about the big game, filling me in more, a lot more specifically with Laval and their program. Laurier, I've been familiar with them and kind of what they're doing this season, more specifically with Taylor Elgersma and kind of what they're, saying about him and stuff like that. Other than that, Laval, I know Laval is kind of similar to I kind of compare them to, the Saskatoon Hilltops for me in the Canadian Junior Football League, where they're just always a buzzsaw. They're always going to be relevant, and obviously coming off their national championship, Vanier Cup champion in 2022, still very relevant in today's age, and I believe 11-time Vanier Cup champion. So, always know what to expect from Laval. They're going to be a hell of an out, and I would imagine they're going to be ready to go. Coach Constantine will have their program ready to go. Very disciplined. Usually, always kind of play these lower scoring type games. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of make Laurier play a little bit more uncomfortable than they're used to. But I think Laurier, Taylor Elgersma leading them will be able to kind of break through eventually and lead them to a victory on Saturday. I guess I kind of spoiled my pick, not saving that for later, but I'm going to jump on the bandwagon for Laurier this Saturday. And I would like to see them. No offense to Laval. I think we've just seen them win a few times now. As I mentioned, 11-time Vanier Cup champions. I believe the last time Laurier won a Vanier Cup, 2002. So it's been a while, and I think it'd be nice to see a new face as well as a new face of hopefully Canadian football led by one Taylor Elgersma on Saturday. But I see backstage one Connor O'Neill just joined us, so we'll bring him in. Connor, thanks for joining me, buddy. How you doing?
Doing tonight.
Don't got you quite yet, which is all good. I like the Grey Cup hat though. But can we hear you now maybe? Not yet. All good as Connor battles through a little technical difficulties. I was just kind of talking about what I'm excited for on Saturday, and kind of Laurier obviously kind of knocking on the door last year in the Yates Cup and not being able to get past Western, and finally being able to. I think is a nice, easy story to root for on Saturday compared to Laval's been here numerous amount of times, winning it a few years ago, and I think should be an interesting storyline for me personally. But before we get to the big game, hopefully we can bring Connor in here now. I honestly wanted to pick both years and Wade's kind of brain about obviously me covering Canada West and stuff like that this year. Regina and the story that they kind of unfortunately came to an end last week, and I heard you guys talk about it earlier in the week. But do we got you now, Connor, at all?
I don't know. You got me. You got me on the speaker. Oh, we're good. 2 thumbs up, Cole.
Double thumbs up, buddy.
Bad. My settings were. I don't know what was going on there, but first off,
no big deal.
Shout out to you.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to you and all you're doing on the West Coast. I gotta ask you one question. I know we're talking to U Sports here. I know we're talking Vanier. Cole, I gotta ask you one question before we start off. You all right? You okay over there on the West Coast? I saw the Rick Campbell news. I saw the VA news. How are you holding up there on the West Coast? You okay?
I am okay. There is a lot of there is a lot to talk about, and the offseason has just begun. There's a lot of ways to go. I think we'll maybe start with the VA first before I get into maybe the Rick Campbell and kind of the front office moves that have been made. Vernon Adams, man, I think like probably everybody in the football world, just absolutely gutted for him, kind of the hand that he was dealt this year, and the start that he got off to. The injury obviously happens, and then we're hearing more and more behind the scenes of like him, whether it's right or wrong, not really kind of getting his job back after injury, and then kind of the I don't know if you guys heard kind of the quotes, I guess, from the Ryan Rigmaiden press conference, and that they weren't going to necessarily let VA choose kind of where he wants to go. And I know VA kind of made that a little bit vocal in his season ender press conference that he would kind of like to be a little bit involved in that process for everything he's done. Dating back to like 2022 when Nathan kind of went through that injury, and then he had to kind of step in. So VA absolutely gutted, man. Rick Campbell. I think it's unfortunate that we've kind of just came to this is maybe the ceiling for a Rick Campbell-led team in my mind, I think. So I'm hoping that the grass is green on the other side, but not for sure, considering that we've had, 3 winning seasons in a row, Western finals the last 2 or 3 years. So was some positives, but I think and hope that we should get hopefully a breath of fresh air with some new names in here. But let's bring in Wade Zanketta, your partner over at CFP. Wade, thanks for coming in last minute. I appreciate you jumping on. I know how much you guys love talking U Sports and the big game, so I appreciate you jumping on tonight.
No worries. Thanks for having me. And I had to listen to that BC rant, and I had to shake my head when they fired Rip Campbell. I couldn't believe it. But like you guys said, VA, Rourke, they got to figure that thing out first and foremost. So thanks for having me in. It's exciting as we get nearer and nearer to this Vanier Cup pinnacle, and they're handing out awards as we speak.
Yes. So as I was just going to swing over to Connor, I'm glad you joined us at the right time. I've been doing a lot of kind of covering the Canada West this season,
Yep.
and obviously the story that Regina was on, I kind of just wanted both of you guys' opinion. I know I heard you guys talk about it a little bit earlier in the week, but just amazing stuff from them. I think hopefully with the Vanier Cup in Regina next year, a little bit of like something for them to chase as well going into next year and be very motivated. So, Connor, maybe we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on kind of what they've been up to this year?
Oh man, the Canada West was drunk this year. If I can pick one word to describe what the heck was going on in the Can West this year. I mean, Cole, I was in the picks pool with you. I did not do so hot. Matt won, as we all saw. Clearly, he's got his ear to the ground there in the Can West. But dude, it was so much fun to follow this year. I thought the Cinderella run of the Regina Rams, and I'm a huge Coach McConkey fan, so I'm very, very happy to see that. Wade, dude, I know that we had an opportunity to talk to Coach McConkey, shortly after
When he had the interim tag still, yeah.
Absolutely. He was interim tagged when we talked to him the first time. And coming away from that interview, we both kind of said, he's got the stuff. This is going to be a different Regina Rams program. And I think over the years, that's absolutely what we've seen. He's developed this program like no other. And obviously now, they were just in the Mitchell Bowl competing to go to the Vanier Cup. But the Can West was so much fun to watch this year. I think, more than any other conference, the parity was on full display for me.
Yeah, Wade, what were your thoughts?
I found it tough as we went towards the back half of this year because Regina was not overly dominant in the sense that we've seen like Montreal or Laval or Western or Laurier dominate, or Bishops even this year in the AUS. They were just kind of winning a lot of turnover battles, and I know it takes a lot to win that, but having that 4 or 5 turnover game consistently and still only having that small margin of victory, I kept saying to Connor, like, this is not sustainable long term. And while Pelletier and Mims and Sirleaf, they had a really good year throwing the ball around, to still only have that tight window of how well you have to play to win and still only be successful week after week, or still be successful week after week. It was almost like a waiting game of when are they not going to have that crazy amount of turnovers. It turned out to be the Laval game, yet they found themselves in a familiar position with a few minutes left to play. So something I thought that they would not be able to play close without that amount, they ended up proving me wrong and just falling short of that ultimate goal, which is playing for the Vanier Cup.
Yeah, so Let's get to the two teams that are playing on Saturday. I know, Connor, you and I talked before the season about
Yep.
the luxury of kind of like the Canada West quarterbacks, but obviously you guys being in Ontario, you have the luxury of, I know you've had Taylor on multiple times, and I think that's probably where we should start. But just,
Spoiled.
not being able to watch him as much as you guys, I'm sure, but just hearing and seeing some of the clips that go on and stuff like that, he seems like and even just kind of hearing some of his interviews with you guys with 3 Down, stuff like that, he seems like a very he's very prepared for this moment. So,
Yeah.
what are your guys' thoughts on Taylor and kind of just what you guys have seen up close and personal?
We've been fortunate over at CFP, Wade and I, to speak with Taylor, on a number of occasions now. Starting from last year, the season before, in through this year, and Taylor's been one of those guys in the OUA that we've always known has had this stuff. And Wade and I just finished a CFP episode where we were talking about last year's Vanier Cup, or not Vanier, sorry, last year's Yates Cup, where the Laurier Golden Hawks lost, and the day after, Taylor Elgersma is in the gym lifting heavy. And that's what you want to see out of your captain. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. That's what you want to see out of arguably, the 1A leader on your team. And then, I know Laurier's got, 1A through 1Z leaders, or 1Z, sorry, we're Canadian here, 1Z leaders on their team there in the Kitchener-Waterloo region. But yeah, for me, the stuff that the intangible stuff that Taylor possesses, the way that he conducts himself, whether it's with his team, whether it's on interview with us, even off interview. Wade, I know you can attest to this. Like, he is a professional through and through. Yeah, we can shoot the crap with him a little bit, off air. We can get a little bit of some unfiltered takes, but he is a dude that is, whether the takes are unfiltered or not, it is full preparation. It is full. I know what the other team's doing. We were talking to him. We had the luxury of talking to him before the Bishops game, and we were talking to him off air a little bit. I'm not going to air his laundry too much here, but the things that he was saying, the way that he was breaking down Bishops to us off air, we were like, I got no qualms about what Laurier is doing heading into this game. Taylor's prepared, which means this offense is prepared, which means this team is prepared. And if Taylor's prepared, I got full faith in the coaching staff. I got full faith in what Falds is doing. But yeah, the interview was great, but I think I learned more from the off-air stuff that Taylor was saying and the ways in which he was preparing, how much film he had watched, and it was just offhand comments, Wade, and I think you can agree with that. But the things that he was saying to us off air was eye-opening of how much film he watches, how prepared he is, and just the way he attacks the game week in and week out is like no other. And that's why I think that they are so ready for this Vanier Cup.
Yeah, Wade, what were your thoughts as well?
Yeah, well, Connor was on base last August, and I had the luxury. Coach Falls had invited me up to preview one of or to hang out with them for a day at training camp, and while we got to see Taylor the year before play and have a lot of ups and downs, I got to meet with him right after practice, and I think it was day 1 or day 2. But you could really sense the intensity coming from him and the pressure he was putting on guys like Leomio Jupalayo and Ethan Jordan, Raiden Thorne, to be perfect and be at that next level, to take that next step as a team. And then all of a sudden we sit down, and as we're getting set up, it's so polite and like, oh, thank you, appreciate it, thank you very much, thank you. And I'm like, really, is this the same guy that I just saw on the field, like giving his teammates gears about, you're not running this route as crisp as you need to on day 1 of training camp. But the intensity that you see on the field mixed with the guy he is and has shown us through the last couple of years off the field and shown through his interviews and how you see him speak. Like Connor said, these guys want to fight for him because he is that alpha leader and the ultimate guy that they want to ride with. But even if you talk to some people in the CFL from his time at Argos training camp, the Argos guys love him. And if you can be impacting, as Marshall calls it, like the glorified water boy with the CFL like quarterback apprenticeship, because you're really not taking that many reps with the team. If you can make that big of an impact in a short instance, and you have those guys with you for 4 years and you rock with them each and every week, the stuff that he puts on the field is just a result of all of that effort and hard work and guys wanting to work with and for him. And at the same time, he has this humble nature of, I'm not the playmaker. My job is to safely get the ball from the center to my all-star playmakers. And whether that's a 5-yard throw, a 5-yard bubble screen that's behind the line of scrimmage, or a 50-yard ball like we saw to Ryan Hughes last week, he truly believes that they are the stars of the show, and he just has the luxury of being the cool guy that gets to throw the pass to Tayshawn, Raiden, Ethan, Jace, Jackson, Laomi. He actually believes that, like, I'm not the superstar. And yeah, he plays like he is the superstar because he is one, but I don't think there's an ounce that he would let on where he would say, yeah, I'm that guy. I think it's, no, my guys rock. My O-line is spectacular. My H-backs block their butts off for me. And that's so infectious for this team. And I think it's one of the big reasons why they're here playing for the Vanier Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cole, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off here on that, but just to add to Wade's point, we talked to Taylor a couple times this season, and that was the message that was passed on, and that was very clear from 13 over there with the Laurier Golden Hawks, was that I'm not the guy. I'm just the facilitator. I am just the distributor of this offense.
Yeah, he calls himself Point
this
B
guy's about to win
when it's trying to go A to C. Yeah. He's literally minutes away from winning the Heck Creighton Award, and he's like, I'm not the playmaker, guys. You have this all backwards.
I'm not the guy on this team, which is a wild statement to make because he is very much the guy on the Laurier Golden Hawks. But for him to have the humility, to be so humble to come in and say, I'm not the guy. I'm just the guy that gets the guys the ball. Was great. Was a wild statement to me, and that's just the character of Taylor Elgersma.
Wade, I'm curious on like the the day and age we live in with social media, the podcast stuff. He's been super busy, I feel like, in the last few weeks, and with the appearances and stuff like that, it's super cool to see that he hasn't shied away from it. Coming into the season, I feel like the expectations were probably super high, and he's obviously met those, and probably you could honestly say he's exceeded those expectations. And like I mentioned with like the social media, the podcast, and stuff like this, he's probably heard and as you guys said, how humble he is, how good he is, and that could probably get to one's head very quickly. And in the biggest moments, I know you guys mentioned, I think the stats earlier, like the 3 playoff games or something like that, he's over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns or something like that. He hasn't wavered at all this season, and he's really just kind of kept like this almost at all times. So what do you kind of have to say about him meeting expectations and not really quavering under any pressure as well?
I think we actually asked him a similar question, and his response was, I trust my guys and I trust Coach Galloway in this system so much that it just allows me to play free. And even when we talked to them at the start of the season with Coach Faulds, it was, the expectation is to be better than we were last year. That's always the goal, better than the year before. And when you lose in the Yates Cup, well, the goal the next year is you need to be back and contending to win the Yates Cup. And that's just how they looked at it. And especially when they returned all 12 offensive starters at the beginning of the year, they truly believed that it was, we have to make a deep run into the national semifinals and maybe the Vanier Cup, or this season is not up to standard for us. And having that goal and being one day closer, like even this week when I texted Taylor and said, like, hey, congrats on the win against Bishops, we'll see you in Kingston, it was, yep, one more game, we're not done yet. Like, along those lines of, like, that's cool. Yeah, like, that's cool what we did, but we have another game. Our goal is not finished. And maybe, like, once you reach that goal, right, they always say in the NFL, money changes people. So does winning. Maybe we'll see what happens to Laurier if they reach the mountaintop. But until they get to that point where they're the last ones with a trophy in their hand, I don't think this team or Taylor is really going to change their approach week in, week out.
So not to be outdone too much, it's probably unfortunate just because of how much of a superstar Taylor is. But on the other side, Arnaud Desjardins is a hell of a quarterback. His touchdown interception ratio, I think 17-1, which is incredible. Connor, what do you got to say about him as well? Another guy that should probably get invited to a combine, probably get some looks this spring, and hopefully he's able to showcase himself well. So what do you got to say about on the other side of the field?
Yeah, Cole, we talked about this at the start of the season, right? Like we are spoiled as U Sports fans with quarterback play right now in Canadian university football. We're talking about a lot about number 13 for the Laurier Golden Hawks, as we rightfully should, and Wade said, and I think it's true. This dude is minutes away, and we're live here on your show. This dude is minutes away from likely winning the Heck Crichton. But the only guy that I could see taking this trophy from him has already been named as a second-team All-Canadian, and that is Arnaud Desjardins, the quarterback of these Laval Rouge et Or. And he's a guy in the past who has led his team, obviously alongside the likes of Kevin Mittal, but has led his team to a Vanier Cup win already. He's a damn good quarterback. He's a damn good facilitator of the football. He knows how to get the ball into the hands of his playmakers, and that has been on full display this year with rookie Olivier Cool, who has been, one of the most dominant receivers, regardless of stature, in U Sports this season. He's been electric to watch. I love the game that Arnaud plays, and I love. Wade sent me a clip. I don't know if you've seen it, Cole, but Wade sent me a clip of Arnaud coming out of the tunnel.
No, it was when Regina was coming out of the tunnel. Regina's coming out of the tunnel.
Regina's coming out of the tunnel, and Arnaud's standing there watching Regina come out of the tunnel. And he's talking crap, and he's nodding his head, and he's getting into it with one of the defensive linemen of the Regina Rams. And you know what? I freaking love to see that out of a quarterback. I love that. When I see a quarterback getting fired up, when I see a quarterback that is as gung-ho to go hit somebody as my starting safety, as my starting D tackle, as my starting middle linebacker, if I see a quarterback that wants to go out there and make a physical play, yeah, quarterbacks throw the ball. Yeah, quarterbacks turn around and hand the ball off. But if I see a quarterback that wants to go out there and make a physical play, I get excited because I know that dude is ready to lead my team. And I think that is what Arnaud brings to the table. He's a leader. Through and through, he is a leader of this football team. He's a leader of the Laval Rouge et Or, and not to mention, damn good facilitator of the football at that. So I think what he brings to the table is veteranship, leadership, experience, and an ability to put the football in places to give the red and gold, the Rouge et Or, opportunities to make plays, to put themselves in positions of success, to put themselves in positions to potentially win this Vanier Cup.
And Wade?
Calculated, controlled. He's a precision passer. And, a couple years ago when they were going on that run to the Vanier, I was the one that was standing on the table saying he should be the Heck Crichton. It shouldn't be Kevin Mittal. It should be Arnaud.
Dude, you bought a long sleeve T-shirt.
No, but that was for the championship. I got it right here. Okay, but I was the one that was saying like Arnaud is the playmaker. Yes, Kevin Mittal is phenomenal, but Arnaud is the guy that makes this thing go. And we saw last year Joe Senecal kind of stole that spotlight a little bit, but Arnaud has came back and brought that same fire that they had 2 years ago when people counted them out. People didn't really think like, oh, are they going to be able to do it? And they proved everyone wrong. They have that same kind of attitude and fight to them. But going against the Heck Crichton winning quarterback and Taylor Elgersma, as that's now official, it's going to be hard for Arnaud Desjardins to look like the top dog that he has shown he can be in the country. It's going to be really tough this weekend.
But what an opportunity to do it. Taylor takes it home on Thursday, and obviously in his mind, he can do the talking on the field, and would probably be a chip on his shoulder. I'm sure he'll stack on Saturday. So Let's talk about the coaches. I think both very well respected on either side. Connor, you can start either with Coach Constantine, who's obviously built his program up there in Laval, or Coach Faulds in Laurier. But what are your thoughts on both head coaches of either program?
Oh, your mic, Connor, you're muted.
Muted, Connor.
On the system, there you go. Nope, now your mic's muted.
Oh, there we go. Oh.
Quebec is what Quebec allows me to have, and that is not very much. They clearly know I'm rooting for the OUA. They clearly know I'm on this side of the OUA here in the technological world of Quebec. But nonetheless, I will leave Glenn Constantine to my guy Wade here, because I know Wade is a huge fan of Glenn Constantine. On our podcast, on the CFP podcast, I claim the Montreal Caravan every year. Wade claims the Rouge et Or seemingly every year, because I don't let him get to the Caravan. That's my RSEC team. Even though they hit me as hard as I've ever been hit my entire life when I was playing my rookie season there at the University of Ottawa. But I digress. I'm going to talk about Faulds here and what he's done. Not only with this team, but in his career, man. I mean, you look at what he's done as a quarterback. He's been here. Knows what it takes.
You're having some issues there, Connor. I'll go on Glenn Constantine here while you fix up your mic, but I certainly think where Connor is going to lead me to is to say that Glenn Constantine has a winning resume unmatched by anyone other than Greg Marshall, it seems, in U Sports. And to have that consistent nature of winning football games and winning programs year after year when you change over so many players, or you graduate a Kevin Mittal to the CFL so he can hurdle someone into the end zone for a Grey Cup. When you have those kind of players leave and then you seemingly replace them the next year with an Olivier Cool who then takes off, that kind of success takes a certain type of leadership, and as stoic and as grouchy as he may look on the sidelines when he gets cold because he's all bundled up and ready to go, there is something about him and his football teams that they think they are the top dogs. Gold is in their name, and unless they are crowned as the champions, they're not satisfied. And that's really going to be played out this week. I feel like it's like the Steelers with Mike Tomlin, right? You never bet against the Steelers when they're an underdog because he has a way of kind of getting his guys going. That's how I feel about Glenn Constantine year in, year out. And that was the case 2 years ago. This year, it certainly feels like it's been the case. But I'll let Connor go on Coach Faulds here for a bit more.
Connor, we got you back?
Right here.
Oh, there we go.
Got me back? I don't know what's going on.
It's through your AirPods.
My bad, everybody. It is
all good, Connor.
My bad, everybody. But Faulds, man, what he's done with his team, what he's done as a player, I was saying that, he's been there as a player. Obviously, everybody remembers, the Yates Cup game between him and Danny Brannigan, iconic in the lore of U Sports football. But then to turn around and transition to the success he's had as a coach. And before Taylor, it was what he was able to do with the KG-19 era Golden Hawks and the 2016, Yates Cup champion Golden Hawks. And I say KG-19, I'm obviously referring to Curly Gibbs Jr. for all you Canadian football fans out there. Let's not forget that he was a Laurier Golden Hawk alumni, and a damn good one at that. But yeah, what he's been able to do with the...
Oh, lost him again, I think.
Yeah.
All good, Connor.
We're sort of back. I don't know.
We're there we go.
In and out, but yes. Faulds has been able to do is influence on these Laurier Golden Hawks, before I cut out here again, has been incredible, and he's been close. Now he's finally there, and I think this time officially, finally, for sure.
All good, buddy. Let's get to basically kind of a more rounded conversation about the game on Saturday. From my perspective, not having the most knowledge on either team is kind of a Laurier's offense versus Laval's defense, and that's kind of been building RSEC. I've heard you guys talk about the rock fights that happen in RSEC, low scoring defensive matchups. Do you think that's kind of where maybe this game will be won on Saturday? Is that matchup between Laurier's obviously high powered offense and Laval's defense, and maybe Wade, if you want to maybe weigh in on that?
We have talked about how stout this Laurie or Laval defense has been, but quite honestly, Cole, I think this game is going to come down to special teams. And Laval has stole a few games this year, whether it be the McGill game or the games against Montreal, where they were winning with special teams plays, whether it's a blocked kick or a big return that gets them set up for something. Conversely, Laurier has had a phenomenal year returning the ball with Tayshaun Jackson. And I think whenever you look at how they've played this year, teams have actually started now. Bishops did this a lot last week, just not even kicking the ball to them. Like, we're just going to kick the ball somewhere else to avoid having you guys get a return with your two guys. I think that intimidation factor with Laurier's return game and Laval's ability to change possession and flip field and momentum at the same time is where this game is going to be won or lost. Like, they can change a game's momentum so fast on special teams. It's like having a 90-yard touchdown, even if you don't score, right? It could just be a block or a big return that sets you up, but it gets everyone going. And while the offenses and defenses are certainly the big ticket items with Arnaud and Taylor, I feel like the special teams is going to steal the show this week, or at least be the one that, as I said to Connor like a half hour ago, it's going to be the play that you go, damn, that's where the game flipped. I don't know what it's going to be, whether it's a missed kick or a blocked field goal or a blocked punt, but it's coming somewhere from one of the teams, and it's going to be the deciding factor.
Very Canadian football of you. I love the special teams because it
Vive
is
la Rouge. Vive la Rouge.
a third of the game, as we all know, and can big time plays. I said I was at the Grey Cup last week, and the Lucky Whitehead fumble on special teams was kind of a huge game changer in my opinion. You could feel it in the stadium. When that kind of momentum shifted to the other side. But Connor, what are your thoughts? Special teams, do you think maybe that could win as well, or kind of the matchup as a whole, maybe from like a bird's eye view perspective? If we got Connor.
Maybe
not. Maybe he's frozen, which is no big deal.
No, he's alive.
Wait, talking about like the game on Saturday that I was at. I know you guys being big fans of U Sports UA as well. I think the cool thing for me that I was kind of trying to talk to some buddies that I was sitting with was the fact that it was like three U Sports guys that kind of flipped the momentum to Toronto, with Fraser Sopek kind of causing the fumble, Jack Kassar obviously recovering, and then on the very next play, Kevin Mytel was the one that, as I believe Connor mentioned, punched it in for the touchdown. So it was cool to see like the fruits of the labor of U Sports guys for Toronto kind of cashing in for them.
Yeah, and I think before we get going, I have a gripe with this Fraser Sopek forced fumble because the ball was already out.
Yes, it was.
I said to Connor, it was more of Fraser Sopek preventing Lucky from regaining control of it than he actually forced the fumble. But no, you're right. And for Toronto, like, you look at their O-line, Anthony Vandal from Sherbrooke was not well liked in the draft process. And I think he was just like a camp invite after the fact. Works his way, practice squads it, then gets into the rotation, and because of the way the season falls, he ends up playing as a starter for them. And to have him there, and I know they have Gregor McKellar, and they've invested so much in that front with Pete Nicastro as well. You talk about the receivers. Tyson Middlemost has been a big factor. Dejon Brissett, I know he went through Richmond, but he's another Canadian guy that they used the draft to build up. This Toronto offense as a whole was just so many guys of, we drafted and developed. And then you have your playmakers on defense where you just seem to be picking these random shots and pulling guys in and out of U.S. camps from whatever league. It kind of married itself perfectly together, and for the Argos, it was a winning recipe, I'd say.
It almost worked out perfectly that you joined me tonight with Connor's technical difficulties. But honestly, all good to Connor. I know how it can be sometimes with recording some stuff and then the audio. You not have your audio and have to ask your guests to like re-record. I've definitely been there a few times, so I understand the world we live in and how that sometimes happens. But hopefully Connor's able to rejoin us maybe. But you guys are obviously going to be there on Saturday. I would imagine that's exciting for you guys. I think back-to-back years. And how many Vaniers is this now for you guys?
For Connor and I as a pair, this is our second Vanier. I went to 2019. One of my best friends was playing for the Calgary Dinos when they played in Laval. I think the next year was COVID. Then it was 2021, 2022 was in London. I think, if I recall. Oh no, one was in Laval, and then one was London.
22, you're right, was Laval win over Saskatchewan in London, I believe.
Yeah, and the other year was Western Saskatchewan in Laval. So it worked out. But no, I this is too straight for me being down on the sidelines. The Queen's atmosphere is unbeatable. And when you pack up Richardson, now that they've finished the pavilion in the end zone, the noise just sits and bubbles, and it's infectious. And I know that this year, or I know last year, sorry, Montreal packed a ton of fans into one side, and it was clear they had a home field advantage. I think Laurier was expecting to bring down a ton of fans as well. So I think the stadium's going to be rocking. As far as Kingston days in late November go, we're above zero, and it's not supposed to be too windy. So we are laughing in terms of temperature. I'm excited. There's a lot of I coach minor football in Kingston with the AAA rep competitive team, and one of our co-coaches is now the head of the Kingston minor football, and we're doing a big try football event with Football Ontario before the game. Local groups have gotten together for a punt pass kick at halftime. So Regina is going to have a lot to live up to over the next 2 years, I think, in terms of atmosphere and hosting a Vanier Cup and kind of building that stadium ambiance, I guess, because they're going to have a lot more seats to fill and a lot more room for the noise to go, unlike Richardson, where it just seems to be piling into the field.
Yeah, super cool. I'm waiting for the days that a Vanier Cup comes back out west. Obviously, I couldn't tell you when the last time it has been out here. I was lucky enough
Marshall Ferguson would be able to tell you because he flamed it.
Is it 2011? Because I was actually lucky enough to be there.
I think so.
In BC Place, and it was super cool. I'll remember that game forever. McMaster Laval, and just I wish it would come back. So maybe one of these days.
Marsh
but
maybe wants to forget that one. But
Connor, what are your thoughts, buddy, on just maybe like a game from a bird's eye view perspective? I was talking about maybe an offense, Laurier's offense versus Laval's defense, and Wade mentioned the special teams. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my bad. First off, my bad for all the connection issues here. I don't know what's going on. That's
it happens.
The province of Quebec must have heard me gassing up Laval on the OUA show here before we jumped on with you here, Cole. But yeah, man, I think that this game of the last few years is going to be one of the most intriguing games for sure. We got two of the best quarterback prospects of the last 5 years for my money's worth. In Taylor and Arnaud. We got a damn good ground game in Laurier. We got one of the best, if not the best, regular season defensive unit in the Laval Rouge, and not to mention that Laurier, boasts a darn good unit of their own. And I think that one of the interesting things here for Laurier against this Laval defense is, and we mentioned this on the OUA show earlier in the week. Actually, specifically, Wade mentioned this earlier on the OUA show during the week. Is doesn't matter that there's a significant injury in the passing game for the Laurier Golden Hawks in Raiden Thorne, who has been one of their best playmakers over the last few years, because they have a guy like Ryan Hughes, who Wade so graciously pointed out has absolutely been lighting up the playoffs. He's got, I think he has to, Wade, correct me if I'm wrong, but this dude has to lead Laurier, at least lead Laurier through the playoffs in yards, in touchdowns, in plays made, in 20-yard games, in whatever else category you want to find. He's been an absolute stud for the Laurier Golden Hawks, and I think that's been a lot of their mentality is, we don't care who it is. We got the next man up. We don't have a starter and a second unit. We got a 1A, 1B. So I think, to me, that's been one of the most impressive things to watch with Laurier. And I'm not saying that Laval doesn't have that. I think they do. They got depth. The best teams do have the depth. But the depth that Laurier has right now, to me, is just a class of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, since Wade is going to be on the sideline, are you guys able to like sit? You don't have to make predictions. Are you guys leaning a certain way?
We made
we've done it.
I got
Okay.
hot takes out the wazoo for you if you want them. So
Connor, you feel free to start. Bring them my way.
this game's not going to be competitive, Cole. This game is not going to be competitive. That was
Really?
my first hot take. Was this game?
I told him to get the F out. I did not appreciate that take.
I'll give you the text chain. I'll give you the text chain right now, live on air here, Cole, as I'm knocking over everything on my desk to try to get my phone. But I firmly do not believe this game is going to be competitive, and that's what I texted Wade. And verbatim here, sorry, I got the text chain up. I texted Wade. Sorry, I'm finding the Army Navy stuff here. Go Army. This I said verbatim at 7:19 p.m. tonight, which is the 21st of November. If I can do proper calendar calculations here, it is the 21st of November on a Thursday night, 7:19 p.m. Eastern time. I texted Wade, this game won't be competitive, and I'll put that on tape. Laurier ran over the second to third best team in U Sports in the Western Mustangs in the Yates Cup. And I think that carries right into the Vanier. I think their toughest challenge of the year, and I am discrediting Laval, so I don't want to sit here and say I'm not discrediting Laval, because I kind of am a little bit. I think Laval is a damn good football program. Do not get me wrong. I think they're the best program, second best program in the RSEC conference. Do I think they deserve to be in this Vanier Cup? Absolutely. I think they do. They beat the best team in the RSEC. They went out and they beat the winners of the Hardy Cup. I'm not going to say they're the best team in the Can West. I still believe the best team in the Can West, Cole, was the Manitoba Bisons. Unfortunately, their season came to an end in ways that they didn't see, or in ways that they didn't foresee. But yeah, I think that the Laurier Golden Hawks, for what it's worth, are the best team, the most prepared team, the most ready team, the most veteran team, the most whatever else adjective you want to use team in U Sports this season. And I firmly do believe that the 2024 season is the Laurier Golden Hawks year. And if I sit here and I get stunned on Saturday and Laval comes out and wipes the floor with the purple and gold of the Laurier Golden Hawks, I'll be the first to admit it. I'll be like, yeah, I was wrong. But right now, for my money, Laurier Golden Hawks by at least 10. And I'm confident making that take. I made it earlier tonight. And I'll go as high as 15, Wade. I'll go as high as 15.
See, Connor was all talk about this massive, not even going to be close, and then he came out and was like 10 points,
It's
and
a
I'm like,
10-point ball game. Yeah, I know.
it's like, how do you get not close and 10 points? That is kind of close. Okay, so you're pushing to 15. I like where you're heading, but Connor, I'm sticking firm to mine. Cole, I said Laurier's. It's going to be a tight game. Laval's too well coached. They have too good of a quarterback at all levels of football. That is a huge marker in terms of how your team can perform week in, week out. Good quarterback, good coach. It's partially why Regina has been able to make that Cinderella run. Really good coach in McConkey, good quarterback in Noah Pelletier. A quarterback that just didn't make mistakes like we saw Anton Amadrid make. Now, as for Laurier, they have an excellent quarterback and a excellent or really good, depending on what color of purple you like to wear, head coach. There's maybe some that kind of say he's not as good. He's pretty darn good, and he's built a program from scratch and has done so very effectively. So in terms of really good coaches, really good quarterbacks, or excellent if you're talking about Elgersma, I think it's going to be a close game. But there's no part in me that feels like Taylor Elgersma is going to walk out of that game without a trophy. And I think it's going to be everything in his power to do so. And I think it'll be a Laurier 5-point-ish win. Like I'd like to, it'll be under a score, but it might not be a 1-point game. So I'm going to put it right at 5, somewhere closer to a touchdown. But I firmly believe that Taylor and these Laurier Golden Hawks are going to finish the mission that they set out to accomplish 4+ years ago.
And Cole, again, sorry, I'm going to jump in here. I don't mean to cut you off. I've done this twice now. So, I mean, I'm going to say I don't mean to cut you off, and I've done it twice. So apologies. Wade, I think I can't remember if we agreed or disagreed on this one, but for my money, I think the sentiment that we both fell on, regardless of score, Cole, regardless of matchup in this one, is that the notion of Taylor Elgersma is the hardest man to bet against in U Sports football right now. Regardless of where you fall on this game, I think Wade and I both agreed, score aside, over under aside, money line, whatever betting props we were throwing out there for fun aside, human aspect, football aspect, quarterback aspect, Taylor Elgersma, number 13 for the purple and gold, is the hardest man in U Sports to bet against right now, because whatever he does, it results in a win.
Especially like go listen to the guy, like I mentioned on with you guys with 3 Down and the various other shows he's been on. Easy to root for, and it kind of feels like, Connor, you and I talked about like Manitoba kind of having that team of destiny feel. Regina kind of had that similar feel. It almost feels like Laurier in a little bit, coming into this year with the expectations, Taylor, and then getting over, Western and the OUA and having to, get through that hurdle. And now they're in this game. I think it should be interesting if they're able to finish the job and get one more game. Just go 1-0, I believe, is kind of their motto right now. And if they're able to do that, they're Vanier Cup champs. So, boys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much. Connor, I enjoy kind of picking your guys' brain more so than myself getting back into U Sports a little bit more, and hearing your guys' knowledge and stuff like that helps me just kind of learn and just know that much more. So, Wade, I appreciate you making your debut tonight, last minute here in the little bullpen action. Connor, I appreciate you giving me the invite as well, man. So, Wade, let the people know where they can maybe find you on social media and what you guys got on CFP this week.
At Wade Zank, CF Perspective, at Connor R. O'Neill. I'll throw Connor's in as a force of habit. Just stay tuned. I don't know how much action we're going to be providing from the sidelines. I think we're more there just as fun spectators and maybe give our 2 cents every now and again.
That's
and maybe
not true. We had that Noah Falcone clip last year that kind of went off a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe
that was
another one of those in.
TSN used that for straight fire and got 0 credits towards us, but it's all good. It's all good.
We'll talk to Marsh.
We did actually. He was the one that was like, "Hey, was that?" Marsh was like, "Hey, wasn't that the touchdown you guys shot?" And Connor's like, "Yes, you can." What? I cut off. Like, I actually stood up in front of Connor afterwards. But yeah, no, it's such a good stadium to shoot at, and I'm sure we'll have some content. But I'm more excited to watch this game as I slap my microphone around now, Connor. My turn. I'm more excited just to see this game and see these 2 teams compete. Like it's a long season. These 2 teams have been fighting for a couple of years to get to this point. It's great to see it, and I hope we get a good competitive game.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Wade. Connor, buddy, I appreciate you for all season long, before the season even, dating back into the spring. I'm sure I will bug you come February, March, as soon as it gets into combine season, to get you back on the channel and film some stuff, maybe another 3-round mock draft or something like that in the spring. Super excited, even though it's off season and it's kind of time to like take a deep breath and maybe take a little bit of time away from football. I can't wait to get into the grind of the off season and, free agency starts and all that sort of stuff again. I'm sure for you guys will be getting combine ready and all that sort of stuff. So, buddy, thank you so much for all season. And I guess Wade already did it for you, but let the people know where they can find you on social media and just have a good time at the game this weekend.
No, man, I'm gonna Wade did it for me, so I'm gonna take the time to give you your flowers because I love everything that you're doing out on the West Coast. I think everything that you're doing for Canadian football, for Canadian university football out on the West Coast has been so important. I think that no matter who's doing it, no matter how they're doing it, the more voices we can have talking about Canadian university football, it is so important for the game, for the growth of the game, for the love of the game. Wade and I sit here and we do this not because we want any sort of accolades or we want any sort of recognition, or we're like, we played, man. We love OUA football. We love U Sports football. We love watching this crap. We've been watching it since we were kids. I can remember, when I was in, one of my best friend's basements, he played, Marshall Ferguson and I went to the same damn high school, but he's a couple years older than me. And I remember being, 13 or no, 13, I guess that's a little young for us. But I remember being like 14, 15 years old and sitting in my friend's basement and Marsh pulls up and I'm like, oh my God, this is like Marshall Ferguson. He plays for McMaster. He just won the Vanier Cup. And I said to Marsh, I was like, hey, like, and I noticed the ring because obviously why are you not flaunting that thing after you just won a Vanier Cup, right? And me being a 15-year-old, I thought that was so cool. And I was probably like the only kid in school who thought the Vanier Cup was cool. But I said to Marsh, I was like, hey man, can I just look at the thing? Can I just look at your Vanier Cup ring? Like this is all I want. And then, unfortunately I didn't get a chance to win one. Didn't even get a chance to sniff at one or look at one from a distance going to the University of Ottawa. But Marsh was, to that 15-year-old kid in me, Marsh was so kind and, he let me not only look the ring, but he let me like put the ring on and walk around with that damn thing for like 15 minutes. And I was on cloud nine the whole time. And at that time, 15-year-old kid, like I was dead set on going to McMaster because coming from Frontenac High School in Ontario, Kingston, Ontario, that's just, where everybody ended up from my high school was McMaster. I don't know if it was the colors or what, but we wore garnet and gray at Frontenac High School in Kingston. Wore garnet and gray. I don't know, maroon and whatever they call it at McMaster. It was basically the same color. We call it garnet and gray at Ottawa. That's probably why that's Ottawa. But to me, that was so cool. And interactions like that are what help grow this game. And the things that you're doing on the West Coast are what help grow this game. And just the more voices we can have talk about Canadian football, the more people, the more care, the more love, the more passion, the more whatever the heck we can have, good or bad, the more conversations that we can have about Canadian university football, the more the game grows. And to me, that's what I care about. I know that's what Wade cares about. I know that's what you care about. I know that's what, the guys at three down, the guys at Crown, the guy, like Braden at CFL Reddit and Mac Dunford now doing his thing, shooting out here in Ontario. Like everybody that's doing something to contribute in some way, no matter how big or small, to Canadian university football is making a difference, is making an impact, is bringing the game to people in a way that was not done before. And that's what I'm so appreciative about. I'm not going to pump myself. I want to pump everybody else because the things that everybody else is doing, the things that, CFP, yeah, we are one minuscule part of all this. This is just something that we love to do because we all played and we all grew up watching this thing. But like to see the way that this game has grown has brought me such joy. To see what you're doing out on the West Coast, to see what people are doing out here in Ontario, and the multiple channels that you can find your fix of OUA or Can West or AUS or RSEC football, whatever it is, the ways that you can access the teams you love now, access the game that you love now, the game that I grew up loving, the championship that made me want to stop playing hockey. I swear to God, I stopped playing hockey as a Canadian. And
that's a sin in Canada.
It is. Stop playing. I swear to God, man. I saw the 2009 Queens run. Growing up in Kingston, that was the run. And I love and hate to admit this all at the same time, but that run, I was like, I don't want to play hockey anymore. I want to play football. I want to go to Queens. I want to win a Vanier Cup. I obviously didn't go to Queens, but it's situations like that. It's coverage like this that turns the tide. And yeah, maybe at that time in 2009, it was one kid who was like, I want to stop playing hockey and I want to start playing football. And not that I wasn't playing football already, but like, I want to stop pursuing the dream of hockey and I want to start pursuing the dream of football. Which was crazy, crazy for me to think about now as a 28-year-old being like, yeah, I was like 16 and I was like, I'm going to drop hockey and focus solely on football. This is Canada, man. We come out of the womb on skates here. So the more, and I'm not taking anything away from the sport of hockey or any other sports, but the more passion, the more care, the more that we can grow this game, no matter how you're doing it, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what coast you're on. I'm all for it. I love U Sports and I love Canadian University football. I don't care who's talking about it. I'm going to tune in, whether it's you, whether it's KGN, whether it's Three Down, or whoever's talking about Canadian University football. If you're talking about it, I'm going to tune in, and I hope that is what every other U Sports fan around the country is doing. I don't care who you're tuning into. Just tune into university football. Tune into university sports, because I want to see that grow. By the time I'm 50 years old, I want to see a couple TV contracts, a couple $1 million contracts here, multi-million dollar contracts for Canadian university sports, not Canadian university football, Canadian university sports. I think it's really important to continue to grow what we're doing here locally in this country, whether it's football, basketball, volleyball, track, cross country, swimming, water polo, fencing. I don't care what it is. I'm all for Canadian university sports, man. And I just appreciate so much everything that you guys are doing, everything that everybody else is doing. But yeah, if I can just give flowers to everybody else right now, that's what I want to do.
Thank you, number one. So well said. I think we both agree of just like leaving the game in a better place than the way, we found it or we entered it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of hopefully what we're both trying to do. But man, thank you so much, number one, again, for all the time that you come on here on the channel and stuff like that. Enjoy Saturday, buddy, and I'm sure we will talk at some point in the off season.
Absolutely, man. I'm gonna go watch that game. I'm gonna hibernate like a golden bear, like an Alberta golden bear for a few weeks, and I'm gonna come back and hit it hard with Wade, with the CFL draft coming up after that. So if you want to connect during draft season, dude, I'd love to reconnect. But everybody go check out CFF, not CFP, CFF. Go watch CFF during the Vanier Cup right now, please.
My man, thank you so much, Connor. Take it easy, buddy, and we'll chat soon.
We'll talk to you later. Appreciate it.
That was Connor O'Neill and Wade Zengetta. So thankful for both of them for joining me here tonight, talking a little Vanier Cup. Appreciate those boys so much. Wade making his debut. Connor for joining me multiple times this season, throughout last season into the spring as well. I just can't thank them so much. These episodes, these shows, I know obviously a little bit about U Sports and whatnot, but honestly, these guys are so helpful for me kind of getting more knowledge for, the various conferences. Canada West, obviously, I'm starting to slowly get up to speed a little bit, only about a season and a half, really focusing and kind of understanding the different, teams, programs, and getting familiar with them. Opposed to these guys who've been doing it for years, and they come on the channel, they can give you guys some really good insights, as well as myself. I kind of have told Connor this multiple times of like when he comes on, this is just as much of kind of a preview show for myself. So having those guys come on, chat about the game, be able to hear their insights. Obviously, Connor leaning towards a blowout, and then Wade going the other way, a little bit of a closer game. All three of us leaning towards Laurier. I am super excited to see what happens when the game is finally played on Saturday, the last football game in Canada this year in 2024, which I am super duper, excited / bummed. So I guess this is another bittersweet conversation that we need to have here on the channel before I get out of here, folks. One last time for 2024, I suppose. We have no more shows scheduled for this season, or for this year, I guess I should say. Unfortunately, due to some scheduling, I won't be able to do any sort of Vanier Cup reaction. Maybe afterwards we'll have somebody on the channel break things down next week sometime. But unfortunately, won't be able to do anything Saturday after the game or even Saturday night. Going to be a little bit busy that day. we will be back at some point for the obviously last pin to drop for the BC Lions, which will be the Vernon Adams trade. Wanted to go live for Rick Campbell and stuff, which we might do, but not too sure if we're gonna have time for that. You guys will see us again when I upload a podcast, which I don't know when we're gonna schedule to release. I'm thinking we're gonna take probably some time off. Might lean towards taking like a month off of December and coming back and releasing some videos in the new year, some podcast episodes. We have some names in the pipeline. We have some ideas. Nothing that I can officially let out yet. I will say you guys can look forward to our Grey Cup Day vlog from the Grey Cup on Sunday, the 111th Grey Cup, which I was lucky enough to be at, down on the field a little bit and then up in the stands to enjoy the game. Just a little, I guess, a few teasers here on the channel here for tonight for anybody that's tuning in or watching later on. We are lucky enough to include guys like Coach Phil. Obviously, you're familiar with him, the weekly show, all that sort of stuff. Also, we're lucky enough to be joined by Paul Lapalisse, and then MOP runner-up, future Hall of Famer, three-time Grey Cup champion, Bo Levi Mitchell made an appearance on the vlog, which was pretty cool. Not too sure if it's going to be edited in there or not, but if anybody's tuning in tonight, I got left hanging, I guess, is what you can say, by the commissioner of the CFL for now, Randy Ambrosi. Try to get Randy Ambrosi in the vlog, and I'm not too sure if he enjoyed that too much. So went for the old fist pound, and he walked right by. So that was quite embarrassing. We will see if that gets put in the vlog or not, depending on editing. But yeah, other than that, guys, Grey Cup vlog. At some point, you will see Blake and I after news drops of the Vernon Adams where he's gonna go. Other than that, please like, comment, subscribe to today's video if you guys enjoyed. Most importantly, when you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys get notified every single time we go live or upload any sort of content on the YouTube channel. Next, on Instagram, if you guys are tuning in over there tonight, please follow. And if you're on Instagram, head over to our YouTube, subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. We're at, I think, 1,300 followers. We need to be pushing that on YouTube as well. And lastly, on Twitter/X, we are at _CF Fanatics over there as well. You guys can follow us on Twitter. It'd be greatly appreciated. Might be a little bit more quiet now that it's off season. Blake will probably dial down the tweets, but stay tuned, guys. Even though it's off season, we're going to take a little bit of time off. We are going to be back in the on the saddle as soon as the new year comes. It is content coming. Free agency will start. Podcast episodes. I'm not too sure if we're going to do every 2 weeks, every week. What kind of schedule we're going to do, but stay tuned. That's why you follow us on social media. And please, if you guys enjoyed today's video, like the video. Most importantly, subscribe, turn on post notifications. When you guys do, head over to our personal social medias as well for both myself, as you can see, at Cole McGarvey, and then Connor and Wade's. I'll have those guys in the description. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you guys on the next show available this year.